To learn about the off-grid lifestyle and to be inspired to live your dreams, click subscribe so you don't miss anything. Hit the bell notification. So today I thought I'd go ahead and try to finish up, well, that's not possible, start on the fourth wall of my tiny house. Probably only get it framed out. I won't be able to get the OSB on or the wrap or get the wall up. I thought I would take today off. Today's Saturday for me. Now, you'll get this video later, of course. But it's gonna rain tomorrow. So I gotta get as much done so I can get the tarp up. I got two tarps, which will work perfectly. I'll put a tarp over on the of the roof area, and then I'll put a tarp on this wall, have them overlap. I'll stick a 2x4 or something up in the center so it has water that can drain off. But I just can't afford to get this floor wet. Underneath it's insulation. If it gets wet, then it's gone, and I'd have to really struggle to get it replaced. Besides that, who wants to spend the extra money? For those who are just catching up real quick, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. We destroyed an old mobile home. It was falling apart. We cut the frame of the trailer, and so we're building the house on the trailer. And of course, if we wanted to move it, it would be easy to install wheels. I still have all the assembly for the wheels. The house wrap, a lot of people have been concerned about the house wrap. I've covered this several times, and I pin it in the comment every time I talk about it, that you're supposed to run house wrap horizontally, not vertically. And it's just not true. You can run it either way. It just depends on how much overlap you give it. With the overlap, if you run it horizontally, you're supposed to have 6 inches of overlap. If you run it vertically like I have, you have to have 6 inches to a foot. I mean, I'm not sure what the big deal is. If you got to do 6 inches, do 6 inches. So yeah, that's a myth, I suppose, that has been developed by the old timers. So I'm going to build the wall in 2 sections. Like I did in the last video, that is actually 2 sections, 2 8-foot sections. Well, this actually is section of 8 foot, and that's a section of just over 7 feet. So you see where the 3 boards are. That's where the 2 walls come together. Of course, the reason I have 3 boards is one of them is the jack stand for the window, for the header. If you don't know what the header is, it gives it support because there's supposed to be a stud there all the way up. So there's no support there. So you have to transfer the weight with the header to the jack stands. Standing here, I've noticed there's a gap in between the 2 seams of the 2 walls. I'm gonna seal all that up with caulk. I wanna get this nice and sealed up. There's a little bit of gap there on the corners also. So I wanna get it sealed up real well so I don't have a lot of wind blowing in during the winter time. Now the other thing I did was I made this wall 7 feet, the first section here, and then the other section 8 feet. Well, I'm gonna do just the opposite on this side. I'm gonna do 8 feet on this side, 7 feet on this side. And the reason I'm gonna do that is so I can have it offset. I don't want the center beam being in the same spot of the house. When I put my rafters on, I want the center beam to be offset. So this center beam will be a little bit over here, and that beam will be a little bit over there. This is a pretty simplistic process. It just takes time cutting the boards. And I'm gonna try to use scraps today for my jack stands. I'm gonna because I'll have a window, and I wanna use up all my scraps. So on my jack stand, I'll just stack them up as much as I can so I can use all the lumber, no waste. The reason I wanna get this as much done as I can before it rains is, it takes an hour to put the tarps up and take them down. It's a long process. So, you're spending 2 hours a day just moving tarps. If I can plan my construction around rain events, I don't have to untarp and tarp quite as much. Okay, this is a carpenter square. It makes drawing straight lines really easy. I'm sure if you're in art class, you know what that is. All you gotta do is you just lay this up against this board right here. That makes it flat, and then you look for your line that you just drew with the tape measure, and you just line that up. Now you can make a straight line. I try to measure out as many of the studs as I can, all the studs that I'm going to need for the wall, measure them all out at once. Then I can start the generator, cut them all at once. Then I have the stack of studs that I need. I don't have to keep coming back and forth to make a new stud here or there, you know, every time I need a stud. You know, run that generator, the noise kind of gets to you after a while. I mean, it's not real loud, it's a quiet generator, but that constant hum while you're trying to think, it does get kind of annoying after a while. So I cut the boards that I don't know the dimensions to, like that board there. You know, I'll have to come back and cut those later, the jack stands and so forth. And the reason I don't know the dimensions is I don't know how high I want the window, I don't know the dimensions of the window, so I just kind of draw all that out as I go along. Put the window in there, I'll lay it out, I'll look at it, see if I like it. That's what we did with that one. It came out perfect. So now I'm going to build my first box using the studs and an 8-foot and an 8-foot down here at the bottom. And then I'll put the studs in the center. Goes real quick after you get the box built. So I got the first box built. That's the 8-foot box. Now I'm going to build the 7-foot box. This one will have the window in it, so it's not going to be quite as fast or easy, because I got to measure out the window and put the jack stands and the header on. Now I wanted to explain, now that I can actually show you what I'm doing, about this off-centering. You can see the beam where the two walls come together here. And the exact location is this right here. This is the jack stand, and this is the two beams or studs that make up the two boxes. So if you look at the line here on the floor right here, you can see that it's offset over to that direction. Well, now if I follow the line, it's offset to this direction towards me. Of course, you're going to get wobble when you have walls, so the wobble is in the center. So I'm going to offset that, so when I put the rafters on, that'll remove the wobble. You don't want both walls leaning back and forth. Of course, you got the side walls that are going to control that. Everything gets tied in together, but the more you can keep it from wobbling by offsetting things like that, the better. All right, so I got the second wall or box done. So there's two boxes here. So to demonstrate what I'm talking about, if you haven't seen in my previous videos, this is one box. You can see it's lifting up by itself, and this is the second box. And so that makes one complete wall. And that way, it's sectioned is what it is. That way I didn't have to buy two 16-foot 2x6s, which would have been, what, 80 bucks? I mean, it would have been outrageously high. So, you know, I think it's $32 for what I would have spent 80 for, doing it my way. I did a header today. Today I got it right. Everything's perfect. I did not make one miscut. So what a header is it is an extra support where you put a window or a door. Now think about this. This board right here should go all the way down to the floor. That's a stud. Well, since you got a window there, there's no support here. So what you do is you build an extra box, basically. Now today I used a 2x4 because I was running out of 2x6s. I didn't want to go buy anymore. So I had two 2x4s that I used. Now I can almost bet you somebody's going to say, you can't use 2x4s, you got to use 2x6. I can bet you somebody would say that. No, you can use 2x4s. As a matter of fact, that's what everybody uses. I'm building my house with 2x6s because I want the extra insulation, not the extra support. So I use 2x4s just to cut the expenses. These things were $10 a piece. Normally they go for like $2. So now I have a 2x4 here and a 2x4 here. Then you have your studs here. You put your studs down on the bottom, And that way all the weight is transferred to what's called jack stands. So the jack stand comes from here, there's the header right there, all the way down to the floor. Now, I know somebody's going to complain about this, but there's no way it's not going to work. I use scraps here. I have a bunch of scraps, so I scrapped it all together, screwed it into the main beam. That'll be real strong. You got to think, you're doing the same thing. Here, this is all section pieced off, and those screws are holding just fine. So now that I have a proper, not miscut jack stand and header. So, I got a lot done today, so I hope I can inspire you to create something today. Thanks for watching.